Hello, James.
How's it? How are you?
And you?
I'm not too shabby, thank you.
How
Um,
is your mama?
if, she's shabby.
Mm.
Yeah, shame.
It
No,
is what it is, hey? When we
she's
when we that old, that age, not that old. When we that age, maybe we might be in a worse of space. So no judgment or criticism.
no, there's no judgment or criticism. It's just tough to see. Um,
Fun. Mm.
she's, yeah, shame she's struggling a bit. She's in a lot of pain. So,
There you go.
anyway, I think we've got an appointment booked on Monday with her doctor. So we're going to go as a family, and then we'll go to see, and then probably get a second opinion, and then work out what to do.
Yeah,
So,
because it's
so
challenging at that age because of the pressure and the stress on the body and shock and all of the other things that come with it, you know. So yeah, there's limits on what one can do.
yeah, it's not. I don't think that the answer is obvious. I have
Mm.
no idea what it is, but she's in a lot of pain, you know. So we always
Yeah,
obviously want to alleviate that. So I'm not
of
sure what to
course.
do. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's
So we have, let me just go back to oops. Rav Nokatula from Sanka is dealing with a crisis at work, so she won't join. And Jared says, unfortunately, he won't make today's meeting as he's busy with clients. His day is jam packed. Hello,
oh
Chantal.
no, how terrible.
I know. I know.
Clients, really?
Yeah. I'm just going to wipe
So,
out. I don't know if my camera's a lot. Yeah, let's
Chan
have a nice little break.
Chantel, how's it? So
Chantal on mute. Chantal, you on mute. Hi, I'm revealing
there
to
we go.
you.
Uh,
You what?
anyway, while we're waiting, I did. Actually, I think I.
Hi,
How's it? How you?
hi.
I was just about to tell Mel. I think I got myself a bout of COVID. Uh,
No.
didn't. Yeah, I think so because I went to Hermanus with the kids, and my daughter had some nasal throaty thing which she gave me. So I went to the
Okay.
doctor to get antibiotics, no big deal, just get rid of it.
Mhm.
And then we got through the first week and it's got a little bit better, and then it just got horrendously worse. And I was like tired, I couldn't get up and what have you. Went back, got another bout, which sorted me out. But that second week, when I was taking the second lot, yes, I was knackered, eh? It was like
You're,
crazy. And then I thought about it afterwards, and my brother said, I think that you might have COVID. And I was like, maybe. Because it's exactly the same symptoms as I had before. So yeah, that
yeah.
was quite an interesting process. So I lay in bed watching videos on ChatGPT and AI for a week.
Oh my
Uh,
word. Oh, you
yeah,
could have
that
done worse, eh? You could
I
have
could have
done
done
worse.
worse. And I'll show you guys just now. Actually, I did some interesting stuff with that.
Wow.
Um, so you and I spoke on
Yeah.
our last session about using the AI to perhaps expedite a process. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
what I did is because I'm always stupid, I always pick the biggest challenge first. I decided I would tackle the issue of picking a niche, which is the one that most people really struggle with, in that
Oh,
process of kind of defining your ideal client. And I created a GPT, which is Chat GPT speak for a little robot that they allow you to create within their platform that can
okay.
essentially automate or do tasks, right? And
Mm.
so what the GPT does, the way that I've created it, is that it asks you a bunch of questions. So it asks you one question at a time, and then you answer it. It's obviously all about you and your business. So each
Sure.
person will answer individually, and then at the end, what it basically does is it spits out who your ideal client is.
Yeah.
Um, And so the interesting thing is, as I was learning about the intricacies, I guess, of ChatGPT, turns out that the way that they've been trained is quite interesting. So the whole game with any of these large learning language models is predict the next word. That's the game. Predict the next word. Okay.
Yeah.
So predict the next word has now become the next sentence and then the next idea. And it's obviously it's grown, but it's predict the next word. So if you don't, when you're prompting ChatGPT, if you don't give it good context, right, it gives you an answer. So let's say that you type into ChatGPT and you say, I'm a sleep therapist. Can you tell me who my ideal niche should be? You will get an answer. Okay, you'll get an answer because there's some predictive stuff going on. You'll get an answer because ChatGPT has been trained on an enormous amount of information, and in there it knows quite a bit about sleep therapy, etc., right? And it will produce for you an answer that is somewhat relevant, but its job is to be helpful. So it avoids confrontation, it avoids taboo topics like, for example, sex or teaching how to build a bomb, silly stuff like that, right? And all of that is controlled by the makers of the particular platform, which obviously you need. And so what I did essentially was I looked at my coaching process. So some of it we kind of went through, and not perhaps to the same level of detail, but in the process. And so then said, all right, well, what do we need to know? Ask 20, I think it's 26 questions I've got, and I probably need to add a few more in. Probably be up to 30 by the time I finish. But anyway, so what happens is you go through and you answer the questions, but you answer the questions as it relates to you. So I've done this and I've watched a couple of people, and as we do it, it adapts the answers to you. It's the most it's the most scary thing, yet the most exciting thing you'll see. So everybody will fill it in, and you'll get the different answers. And so then it starts to kind of summarize everything, and then at the end it takes all of your information because now it's pertinent to you, and then it spits stuff back. And so that was just my first attempt, because it took me quite a while to learn the structure and how to do it and how to prompt it to get the right answers and in the format I want. It's quite a production, but once you build the first one, then it gets a little easier after that. So what I want to do now is pretty much take the whole process and do this with it. And then I reckon we could do probably what we did. What's the goal anyway? We'll see if it's possible. What we did, or what we're still doing, let's call it 9 weeks, because that's the time frame to get it to end of profile. I reckon I could do that in a day, workshopping it with people. So showing you how to use ChatGPT, everybody doing it, and then at the end coming out and saying, here's the finished article. Not quite as simple as it sounds. There's some thinking that needs to go into it, but I think I can do that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think it will also be easier for some people who actually don't want to do the whole, like you sat for a week and did all of this. Hello, Esther. Good to see you. Chantel's busy eating cotton.
Hello.
How's it?
I'm good. And you, James? Compliments of the new year.
Yes, likewise. Thank you very much. Oh,
Thank
fantastic.
you, thank
Thanks.
you.
All good.
Yeah, I think that it'll
Didn't
certainly
make it.
be.
Gosh, thank goodness.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that's a great niche, especially for your clientele, because it can be an extra value add through this process. It'll make it easier, especially for people who can't think in terms of who is mine. Because most people do, they go anyone, anyone's actually like a swear word, or anybody. That's not your ideal.
So what I'll do is I'll share that with you at the end of this. So I've got this fly here, and he's driving me nuts. I'm sure he visits me once a week, and he does this to me. He's like, and I can't catch him. He is too quick for me.
And James, take the challenge.
I'll get him. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get one of those like tennis racket machines.
Yeah.
Then he won't come again. He knows. Anyway. Yeah, that is nice. So I'll show you what that looks like
That'll be
in a
nice.
bit. I'll share it with you, and you guys can go play with it and see what you come up
Yeah.
with.
Give
Interesting.
you feedback.
Yeah, thanks,
Oh,
Chantal.
there, look. Yeah.
Could you pass it to me, please? Thanks. Spray that little so. Yeah, I need
You
some
are
of
like
that.
my grandson now. My grandson comes to me last week and he goes, "Granny, I want to make a video." I said, "Sure, my lovey." So, we do these like things together. So then he sits at my desk and he starts making a video on oils because now he loves the oils. You see, he takes the oils, he rubs them, and he goes like this. Yeah, smell. Yeah, smell, and he lets you smell them. And I'm like, really? So Chantel's doing that now. Yeah, smell.
There you go.
What's your cream?
Uh, anyway. All
Yeah.
right. Well, let me jump in and get us to where we need to be. One
Yeah.
second. Let's move us all out the way. Here we go. So no, let's try from the beginning. So today we're going to look at the experience section. Let's just do a quick recap because it's been quite a while. Obviously the first thing we did, and this is the thing that we built the GPT for, which kind of actually deals with all of these things together. So you'll find it quite an interesting process to go through. So really that idea of taking everything and coming up with who you think the ideal niche is to deal. So not necessarily the absolute ideal client. At this stage it's the niche, but you'll see the GPT actually defines pretty much everything you need. And then we said, okay, well, what's the big problem that you solve so that we can come up with our magic message, or as LinkedIn calls it, the headline. And then we looked at some of the visual stuff. So we've got our profile pictures. And then we got into the about section template. So this is probably the most complex piece of the whole thing, but in many ways the most important. And we got all the way through it. So I think the last session that we did as a group, and even then there were too many of us on it, was probably just looking at the call to action and personal relatability. Not the most staggeringly difficult things. I think we kind of got through that, but these would just be the last couple of bits and pieces just to finish up the about section. Then today what we're going to do is we're going to get into the experience section. So this really is quite an interesting piece as well, and something that a lot of people just gloss over and don't really realize just how much power is sitting in this. And so you'll remember throughout this whole process that we've gone through, I've been comparing really the average website to your LinkedIn profile, and the experience section. This is the one that is not quite as intuitive as every other piece, but it's very similar, if you like, to the products and services page. Now, if you think about this for a second, what happens is that when people come to a website, what do? They land on a home page, and the home page kind of gives them a little bit of direction, and then typically they're going to make a choice and they're going to click on something. And as we know, the first thing they tend to click on is the About Us section, and that's why we spent all that time. And once they've gone through all of that and they've got a little bit of a feel for it, they'll then get to a point where they're comfortable with you, or they're not. If they're not, obviously they'll bounce away. If they are, then the next question arises, and that is like, well, can I have a look at your products and services? And in that process, essentially, what they're doing is they're asking the question, can you solve my problem, whatever that problem is? Now, hopefully, we've already given them a good indication, but this is the place where we get a chance to really give them the nuts and bolts in terms of what it is that we do. And so, ironically, even though this is like such a nominal looking section on your LinkedIn profile, in many cases it's the money section, and it's the money section because of the place that people are in the journey at the time that they actually go in and take a close look at what's going on here. Now, before I show you this, what I want to do is I want to do this little walkthrough for you as to what this would look like, right? So the typical user, when they get to LinkedIn, they get onto your profile, right? And the eye will be drawn to the banner, as we've discussed before, just because it's colorful, and it's the one opportunity that we have to differentiate ourselves. And so we've spoken about the concept of having some text on there to let people know that they're in the right place, having a bit of branding, a bit of congruency, and the nature of the banner to sort of reflect what it is you do in one form or another. So that's the first thing they're going to do. Then the eye will have a quick look at the profile pic, just to make sure that it looks okay. At this stage, it doesn't mean a whole lot, but first impressions count. And then they'll look at the name, and then they'll go here. So this is the first time that they're really pausing for maybe a nanosecond to take in the information, and they're deciding really in many ways. A lot of the decision is going to be made based on this. Is like, okay, do I think that this is something that I want to look at? Am I going to look at this profile, yes or no? And if the answer is still yes, now they're in, right? They're hooked. So now the scroll starts. This analytics stuff obviously won't be there. This is because I'm looking at my own profile. So the next section they actually see is the about section. Right, and if we've done a good job with drawing them in, and we've done a reasonable job up here, in most cases they're going to click on this, right, and then they're going to hopefully read through our about section, and when they get to the end of that, they might stop at our featured section, but many times they'll have a quick look, but they'll come back to this. Then they'll continue to scroll. They'll get through the activity section, and then they'll get to the experience section. Now, the experience section is quite interesting, and I'll show you two examples here. I'll show you the bad example first. Okay, the bad example is a much older website of mine, and so this is this book that I had created, Infinite Sales Funnels, and you know that this is a bad example because you have the little placeholder LinkedIn image over here, the skyscraper image, and if you have that, you'll know by implication that there's no company page that's attached to this. So if I click on this, I'll right click and open in a new tab. What LinkedIn's trying to do is it's trying to find any reference to this company, and if you have a look at it, the only reference it can find is me, so it's kind of back to where we were, and there's no real value. So if that's the case, the user kind of gets stuck at this point, right? So typically what's going to happen is hopefully we've got a company page. So like in regular clients case, there's a company page, and again, you'll know that because there's a logo. So if we right click and open this time, now what you'll notice, so let me show you what it looks like as a member. This is what everybody else sees. You will now notice that the banner is very similar. So if we do let's go back to the top here, you'll see there are obviously a couple of differences, right? The first difference is that the banner is a bit thinner, but you still want that congruence, hopefully, to travel through. And for all of us on this call, right, we're all in our own business. So the company page needs to, or is representative of us. It's not one of these things where there's necessarily a corporate page. So again, we have got obviously our branding is here. So this is our personal image on our personal profile, and on the company profile, obviously it's now a logo. But those are really the only two differences. But you can imagine somebody that's gone from this to this, everything is congruent, everything is good, right? So this is what they're doing. They're going through this whole scroll thing. They get here. They're wondering, okay, let's check out the company. Pop, they pop up here. They might go to the about section. You've got 2,000 characters in it to write a little bit about your company, and then typically they can get to the website, and that's what they'll do, right? If you have a website, obviously, if you don't, they won't, and then they get to the website and they might spend some time here. So that is the typical user journey on LinkedIn, right? Just so that you know, and that's the way most people use it. That's the importance of all of these things and all of these elements together. And so if you've got a strong LinkedIn profile, by implication, you will get a lot more traffic to your website, because people will go through this process. Sometimes it works in reverse. It's unlikely that they find our website unless they've got there through a specific purpose. But on LinkedIn, the specific purpose is because we're going to be sending them connection requests, which is what we're going to do next after we tidy up this piece. And that's the really exciting part for all of you, right? Because now you've created the profile, everything is looking good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go out and we're going to send connection requests to people. And when they get these connection requests, they're going to say, who is this person sending me this connection request? And then they come and they go through this process, right? And so many times people will go through this last piece, and the question in their mind is, hey, can you do X? So if I'm looking for an accountant and I need, VAT returns done, I want to see somewhere on there that you do VAT returns. If I see that, then I'm in, and then there's every opportunity that I'm going to ask to have a meeting with you, and that's really how this whole thing pulls together. So that being said, what I want to show you here is that when you create your experience section, what LinkedIn says to you is, one of the questions is, well, which company are you currently working at? Right? And then you'll list your company. Now, if there's a company page, it automatically links it. The company name will be up there, which, as you saw, is this regular clients, right? It is. And obviously, because there's a logo, because we've popped a logo on there. So a lot of people tend to confuse this. Now, for us, where we're running our own businesses, there's probably not a whole lot of confusion, but sometimes you'll see this a lot where individuals are working for bigger companies. So the information that we put here is not really about our company, right? That goes, yeah, there's a company page for the company. This is still you. So even though they're asking for your experience, the experience that we're talking about is the experience that you have, right, relative to whatever promise you have made up here. Okay? We've all made a certain promise in our LinkedIn headline. So what you want to do is you want to think about, in fact, it's been the same with our about section. Everything in our profile's job is to go ahead and to substantiate that. So in this case, well, what experience do you have to sell my house, for example, or to help me with sleep? That's what you're going to put in here, and that's what people are looking at. Okay, so that's really the major thrust of what's happening here. So I'm going to tell you a couple of other things in a little bit related to that, but let me actually ask you guys. Let me pull this back for a second. Pull this over here. Have you guys got any questions on that? Because it's kind of, this is like an important piece. When you understand this, it will give you a very different perspective on LinkedIn.
Just one question from me, James. You mentioned that when you scroll down further, like one of your previous companies didn't have a logo or anything. Like in my instance, I used to be in full-time employment. And so my experience has obviously my company, my current company at right at the top, which has got a page, but other companies don't have LinkedIn pages. So does that, like, are you saying that counts against you, or?
No, I'm saying it won't count against you per se, as long as your current company's got one and it's yours. So even in my own, like you see, I've got a whole lot of
Yeah,
shit that doesn't
I've
have
got a
anything
few of those
because
as
they
well.
don't they don't exist. I might try to get rid of these actually. And it's quite difficult because you've got to create a company page to link it. You can't put a logo in without it, which is unfortunate. But as long as your main company has got one,
Okay. Okay,
if they don't, the nothing you can do about that. That's the company's decision. Have a page, don't have a page, and sometimes the companies don't exist. Like in my case, I made all this up. I mean, I'm too lazy to make a website for this. I used to have them, but I don't anymore. I was like, whatever, you know.
Thank you.
So yeah, but I'll show you now when we set this up. There'll be a couple of other things that might make a little bit of sense. So understanding this, right? If I take you back, let's pop this back over here. If
I've got a question before you move on. But you can finish if your point is
no?
Then carry on. I don't want to interrupt you. But before you move on.
You'll interrupt me anyway, go for it.
Then go for it, James.
No, go. I'm good.
So mine is interesting because obviously you've told us to hone in now and focus like almost laser point on one thing. So my one thing we laser pointing on, because it literally is, very few people can say that they are sleep gurus, for example. So I'm focused on sleep. But if you look at my experience, I'm probably one of the people that have the most diverse space. So nothing on my experience actually talks to sleep because I wear so many hats. So I probably am the worst thing when it comes to looking at the experience section, because I do so many other things that have got nothing to do with sleep. So in that case, maybe like you, maybe I should delete some things.
So hold that thought for a moment. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll come back to that, because there's a solution
Yeah.
for people like you and me that have got multiple things going on. So I still like the idea of being laser targeted for the thing that we want to go hunt.
Cool.
But that doesn't mean that we should discard everything else, right?
Right.
Because you might, through BNI, meet up with a
Yeah.
client that wants you for something else. And that
Yeah.
person goes to your LinkedIn profile and is like, okay, so she's a sleep guru, but does she actually do these oils and things? Or is it just like, what? Okay. And so we want a place to be there for them to actually see that. And the place is actually the experience section. That's where we get to edit. So if I show you, if you look at mine just for a second, yeah, while we on this topic, you will see that I've got two, okay, and you'll see the one you know, because this is blue and this is orange, right? So the first one is where I'm talking to individuals, and then the other one is actually where I'm talking about coaching and what have you. So you could talk about different things, and you could build them within the same company, or you could do what I did here, and you could create different quote unquote companies, but you'd have to create different company pages for each one.
Sure.
And so that's quite easy to do. So if you open this, you've got 2,000 characters. So I got 2,000 characters there, but I also get 2,000 characters. Yeah. We talk about something different. So if
Yeah.
you've got a couple of diverse things, this is the place to bring them in so that you don't actually lose them. So when you're talking to other people, they can have a look. And also, folks that are, even though they might be coming to you for sleep therapy, when they start to look at some of the other experience that you have, there's a lot of corroboration there, even though it's not direct, right? It kind of makes sense. Okay, this is the type of person that she is. This is the type of stuff that she does. Okay, I kind of get it. This is quite cool. And it will indirectly, I suppose, it will add to your experience when it comes to the sleep side of things. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Chantel also wanted to say something. Chantel.
Yes. So in these, okay. For instance, your experiences. Is it experiences that need qualifications, or is it just? I mean, for instance, I helped manage a family business for 10 years. I have no qualifications in that, but I flip it. I did it, and I did it quite well. So, do you need?
No. The best thing you can have is experience. Experience trumps qualification always.
Certificates and
No.
qualifications.
Mm-mm. People want to know you've done it, and even more so, they want to know you've done it for people like them.
Okay.
Esther?
Thanks.
Esther, do you have a question there?
Yes, I did. I see you've got 2 links there on your experience under your company.
That thing, I'll come to that just now.
Okay, yeah, because I just want to know how to do that, because I've got lots to talk about.
I'll show you. We'll talk about that just now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
So yeah. Okay, so let me run back now. Let's get back here. And so now where am I? Let's do that maybe. So when you look at this, right, what you're gonna see is this. So this actually consists of your experience section has kind of got the 4 elements. This you don't have that much control over, as we've said, if you don't create a company page. And honestly, a company page is super simple to create, right? It's not rocket science. It's like creating a profile, and it's 2,000 characters, and you just talk about the company. What you'll find if some of you haven't created one, is as we go through this process, you'll actually be able to just copy and paste and create the company page because it's going to be very similar, right? So that's, let me just tick those boxes. That's what's going on there. This one is very interesting. Okay, this one here is the job title. So if I say to you, Esther, what do you do? You might say to me, I'm an accountant. If I say, Mel, what do? You might say, I'm a sleep therapist. I might say, I'm a LinkedIn expert, right? So each of us, when you speak to us, right, will be very, very different. So even if I say to Chantal, what do you do? She'll say, well, I sell and rent out houses. I manage the process for you. You know, you might say something like that. But we, right, because we're marketers say all sorts of strange things. But most people just call it like it is, which is a very good thing for us, right? Because if we're trying to identify people, like if I want to find accountants, for example, and I type in accountant, the LinkedIn filters help me tremendously. Now, this particular field that you see over here, right, most people would just say, I'm an accountant, I'm a LinkedIn expert, a sleep therapist. That's what they would say, because it's a very literal description. But what you don't know yet, which you will know next time, or you'll know now, is that when people are using the filters, this particular filter over here is the one that is related to the job title. Whether we're using it on LinkedIn or we're using it on Sales Navigator, it is probably the most valuable search filter that there is, because the user keeps it updated. Like, all of ours are current. If we change jobs or position, we will change that. We just do, right? So it's the one thing that's always up to date, and most people take it fairly literally, and we just call it as it is. So because of that, when people are searching for us, right, what we want to do is we want to give the LinkedIn algorithm as much opportunity to push us up the search page when somebody is searching. Because if somebody searches for you, right, they are clearly already a little bit more advanced in the buying process, right? So the system I'm teaching you is the other way around. It's like where we are casting a net and we're hoping to bring the right people in. But if somebody's searching, like they're already telling you, I'm actually interested in this product or service, right? And so what you want to do is to ask yourself, if people were searching for you, which keywords would they type in? Now, what would they type into Google, into LinkedIn to find you? Now, I want to show you the implication of this. If you look at this one, hopefully you guys can see this. Imagine if I had just said LinkedIn lead generation expert. Maybe that's all I had put in, right? If I had done that, I could have been found for the word LinkedIn. I could have been found for the word LinkedIn leads, LinkedIn lead generation expert, etc. Right? So a small handful of terms, because that's how the algorithm works. It plays with the words. But suddenly I add in another little variable. I add in lead and client generation, and then I talk about my niche, accountants and financial advisors. Right? I have literally 10x my ability to be found, because now I can be found for LinkedIn lead generation, LinkedIn lead and client generation, LinkedIn lead generation expert, LinkedIn client generation expert, LinkedIn lead generation expert for accountants, LinkedIn lead generation expert for financial advisors, lead generation expert for accountants, etc. I can go on and on, right? You get the picture. So what you want to do is you really want to stack this with as many of the key keywords that people will search for you as you possibly can. So that's one of your challenges for this week, is to think about, if people were searching for you, what would they search for? Buy, sell, let, rent, manage my house. So all of those things, like you could put that all in there. You can, not I'm an estate agent. Like, yeah, so what? No, let's alles. Right? So I want you to just think about that. That's the key thing on the job title. Now let's move into the description. So the description, okay, there I've given you a little bit more on the job title. I've kind of just explained that. And when you do the job title thing, right, you don't have to do it like I did, where it's all one sort of narrative. You could do something like this, right, where you could say owner of XYZ Accounting, and then you could say chartered accountant, and then you say full accounting function from bookkeeping to tax. I've got a lot of stuff in there. If that was me, and I was selling my accounting services. I can be found for all sorts of things. Okay, so there's different ways to structure it. So what you want to do is think of the keywords, and then next week we can we can workshop it and see what the best description is going to be for you. I think you're only allowed 75 characters, right? So you can't go absolutely crazy, and it must still make sense to the human, right? So even though we're trying to game the system here, you want the actual description to make sense to a human when they read it. You don't want to write like gibberish, because that kind of defeats the purpose. We've spoken about that. We've spoken about that. So when you look at the experience section, the thing that's going to cause you the most grief is the fact that we've got 2,000 characters. That's even less characters than we had for the about section. Okay, so it's a real challenge to get this section done. So what I have found is these things in color 1 through 4. Okay, those are our options typically. If you get those 4 things down, you will have a very, very effective experience section. And chances are you don't actually have any space to do anything else. If you do, you'll see I've put some credibility things here, but we've all handled credibility in the about section, so you can pretty much ignore that. And there's some other things that you could talk about here. And this is you're asking about the rich media, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But for now, I want you to just focus on these 4 things. Okay. And so the first thing that you would do is you would describe what, when I say your company, again, I should actually have said what you do. For us, it's fine because we are the company. But if you worked with Big Brother company, then it's not the company. It's what you do, the experience that you have in relation to the LinkedIn headline or the magic message, the promise that you've made, right? And this is not a long involved thing. It's a couple of sentences, and I'll show you some examples in a minute. It's just to let people know. What I would say to you is when you do these things, something to bear in mind is, even though I took you through that process, right, where I showed you how most users go through LinkedIn, some people won't, right? Somebody might be just searching for, house rentals in East London. They come across you that way, right? They may go straight here to the experience section. It's like, okay, can you actually do this? They might not even look at all of the other stuff. And so your experience section needs to stand alone. And so you might find yourself repeating 1 or 2 things, but it doesn't matter because it's kind of like a summary. So there might be a little bit of duplication in 1 and 2. So describing what you do, and then again, who you work with. So in terms of who you work with, you have an opportunity to be a little bit more prescriptive, and you can include or exclude people for that matter, right? If there's certain people that you'd rather not have call you, you should tell them that. And sometimes there's legitimate reasons which help you and them. So that's definitely something you can do. And again, this is just 1 or 2 lines, right? So this is not a long involved thing. The thrust, the major thrust of this though is 3, and there's either orange 3 or blue 3. Okay. So orange 3 is how most of us work. Most of the people that I work with, particularly if you've got like a finite group of products and services that you sell, and that's what people are looking for. So, so for example, for accountants, there's only X amount of things that you do, as an accountant, from bookkeeping to maybe payroll to tax to accounts to subsidy, all of that. And people know that. So when they go onto a profile that's what they're looking for, just let them know. You don't have to be creative and do crazy stuff. It's just if they want to know if you can, deal with SARS for a SARS audit or a VAT query or something, just put that down there. Let them know that's all you have to do, right? However, that doesn't necessarily work for everybody. It works probably for about 90 to 95% of people. But sometimes people do some different stuff. Mel, you would fall into the different category like me, right? Because what we do is not necessarily in a box. It would be more appropriate to tell people what the experience would be like working with us. right?
Yeah.
So we've promised them a result, but sometimes it's a bit nebulous. Like if you're an accountant, like you know what a VAT return is, right? If you're looking for an accountant, if you are looking for some help with LinkedIn or with some sleep therapy, you've got no idea what that looks like, right?
Yeah.
I just know I can't sleep, and you said you could make me sleep. How? Right? Like, give me some indication. What's it like to work with you? What's the process? How's this thing going to go down? And that's really all we're doing, right? It's kind of the same sort of process. So you've got one of these two options. Okay, we'll look at an example in a minute, and then again, the call to action is just the contact details, exactly the same as it was. And for some of you, I know you haven't watched this, but everything's up. You just go and watch the last video just to tidy up, where we talk about call to action. But it's really just giving people details of how to get hold of you. Because of the 2,000 characters, I often find we're really short, and so this might just be a phone number or a book something on my calendar, but just put something there so that people can get hold of you. And that typically is the 4 things. When you do those 4 things, then you're kind of done. If you've got space and your business calls for it, you might give people an idea of what sort of outcomes they can expect. I'll show you an example of that in a minute. You can add testimonials or rich media, right? So this is those little thumbnails that we're speaking about. And rich media can be anything. Like you can essentially send them anywhere. You can send them to download something. You can send them to your website. You can send them to your calendar. It doesn't matter. Okay. So let's say you've got 20 testimonials. Clearly, you don't have space for 20 testimonials, but you could create a PDF, or maybe those testimonials on your website, and you can put a link to them, and then you just put a little piece of rich media, which is that little thumbnail where people just click on it and they go there, right? So these are our options. So let's have a look at some of the examples. So in terms of this first piece, which is this here, current position, so describing what you do. So I might say something like, help professionals, or I should probably say help professionals, service providers, and entrepreneurs whose clients are in the B2B space to get at least 2 new clients every month forever. We do this either with you or empower you to do it yourself, so you no longer have to rely on referrals and outdated pre-COVID methods that no longer work. So again, I'm pretty much writing that for my target market. But if that's all you saw, right, you searched for something and you saw, you would know, which is what we're trying to do. The next thing is who do I deal with? So I would say, who is this for? So that's now this here, number 2, right? Who is this for? We specialize in accountants and financial advisors, so we help individual accountants and advisors or sales managers, directors responsible for their team meeting targets. Okay, and in the workbook example, which I'm going to show you, I've expanded that a little bit. Key products and services. So you see, for me, Mel, you'd be the same, probably. Chantal, you're the interesting one. You might get away with a combination of both of these, actually, interestingly enough, because you probably don't have a million services to list, because there's only a handful of things that you do. Whereas Esther, you've got a bunch of stuff, so you'd probably list it. And then like for Mel and myself, we got stuff, right, that's allied and kind of helps, but there's not a lot. So in my case, my main gig is coaching. Right? So sure, I've got best-selling author of numerous books showing you how to get clients. I have books, yes. Webinars where I teach the system, yes, I do that. Group and individual mentoring, helping individuals and teams implement a personalized system to generate leads. That for your LinkedIn profile service and LinkedIn consulting. Right? I could have written this in a lot less space than I did, but like I needed something to say, right? So you can see this is like ridiculous for me. So this doesn't make a whole lot of sense because I don't have a whole lot of products, right? That being said, this is more appropriate. So if somebody is thinking about it, they've got a lot of questions, hopefully we've answered a lot already, but it's like, okay, well, what does this thing entail? If I want to book a call with you, what am I getting myself into? Because this call might take half an hour, an hour. It's like, do I want to spend the time? Can you give me some indication? Yeah, sure. So we've developed, and you've kind of been through this a little bit, right? So we've developed our partially automated regular LinkedIn client generation blueprint that consists of 3 simple steps that even people who are technologically challenged can implement. Once the system is built, it'll work for you for years to come to consistently generate new leads and clients every month like clockwork. Takes 15 to 30 minutes a day to get 2 to 8 leads a week, which easily translates into 2 clients a month. We'll coach you personally or in a group via Zoom, because the devil's in the detail. I will provide you with everything that moves: slides, sheets, templates, standard operating procedures, control systems, and more to show you save years off your learning curve. Right. So you kind of have an indication of what it's like. That's what you're going to get. I made you a promise as to what I think you'll be able to achieve, and this is how we're going to do it. It's like, okay, if this resonates with you, then you book the call. If it doesn't, it's like, okay, thanks. Okay, that's this process section, right? CTA, call to action. Again, it's just let them know where they can get hold of you. as many options as you can. It's nothing. It's not rocket science. What do you now? You often don't have you run out of space. Most times, to be honest, all you want to do is run through this and just let people know how to get hold of it. Sorry guys, can I just, this is quite an important WhatsApp. I just want to see what is.
James, while you're busy there, I'll speak to Mal. So Mal,
Okay.
think about sleep therapy. Many years ago, you're looking at like maybe 16 years ago, when somebody mentioned sleep therapy to me, I had no idea what it entailed. So in my mind, I pictured you go to this lovely place like St. Mark's.
Yeah.
Put you to sleep
Oh my word. Okay.
for a week.
Oh my gosh.
You go on medication that just knocks you out for a week, and you just sleep and sleep and sleep. And it sounded wonderful for me because my kids were toddlers at the time, so sleep
Wow.
was existent. So that's something that I thought. So I can imagine there's so many other people that have no idea what it is. But you explain it so nicely in all your advertising. You explain it. You're not going to get knocked out.
No,
Like
I'm
a
not.
mask and just sleep.
I'm not
Although it
the.
sounds
I'm not the Wicked Witch on a Disney movie that makes.
So like we laugh about this now, right? But actually, this is where you actually have an opportunity to quash those objections, because
Yeah.
that's real stuff that people are thinking, right? So
Exactly.
if in your little experience section you just knock that stuff to the side, it's like, oh, really? Like you almost create a little bit of intrigue, so that this is your opportunity to, like,
But
tell them the good and dispel the bad.
Yeah.
you wouldn't know, you wouldn't realize it. Like Mal wouldn't realize that's what people think, because naturally she studied it, she knows everything. So it would be somebody else that will point it out, like what I've just done now.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Chantel, there's one problem with what you've just said.
Mm?
I'm doing my PhDs on sleep, right? But the more I learn, the more I realize how little I know. That's the problem. So
Really?
I don't know everything, and I think we become learned, the more we realize actually how little we know about life,
Exactly.
about everything.
Really, it's so
So
true, Mal.
yeah,
It's so
so I
true.
don't know everything, unfortunately.
Very true. Okay, so we're not talking about expected outcomes, right? If in terms of your process, it's repeatable, and if everybody does it, generally you get a result, then you can talk about it. Sometimes you can't, right? So here I've given a result. I said average 30% connection acceptance rate, because I mean, it might be, if you get 20, that's very bad. Most people that we work with get 30 to 60. That's just the average. That's what it is. But I can give you an indication because we've done it so many times, right? So if you get 45, you're not going to be cross with me. If you get 30, you're going to be cross with me. And if you get 65 or 80, sometimes people get that, you'll be ecstatic,
Static.
right?
Yeah.
Generate 2 to 5 appointments a week, right? We do that realistically. Sign at least 2 new clients a month. Okay, we can do that. So if you've got this type of thing, you can put it out there. Often we don't necessarily have time. I mean, in terms of the characters and space, but if you do, you can do that. obviously if you've got testimonials, again, space often is a difficulty. And so that's where the credibility we've done. That's where the rich media comes in. Okay, so we'll have a look at that in just a second. So here's the worksheets for you guys for this week. So you'll do the job title thing, right? So think about the keywords or search phrases that people use. Just do a brain dump, ask ChatGPT, whatever you've got to do. Go into LinkedIn, see what other people are doing, steal all of that, and then just sort of create it. As I think you've got 75 characters, so you'll run out of space, or LinkedIn just won't let you save it if you've got too many characters. So that's your job title, and then you're going to get into this process, right, where you want to do these 4 things. So just run through it, right? Describe what you do. Couple of sentences as you see it. So here's the current example that's on mine. So we help you to get at least 2 new clients every month forever. We do this either with you or empower you to do it yourself. So you no longer have to rely on referrals and outdated pre-COVID methods. Just very, very simple. Then the next thing is who we work with. And so here, this is where I've expanded it a bit, right? So we specialize in accountants and financial advisors, individual accountants and advisors who need regular leads and clients. And then here I've thrown a bit of a Hail Mary in a lot of professional service providers, entrepreneurs whose clients are in the B2B space, and then sales managers or directors who are responsible for their team meeting targets. So if there are specific people, just let them know. And then just get into it. List all your products and services. So you've got 3 pages if you need them, and then just do your list of bullet points. So typically, like in a list of bullet points, if that's what you're going to do, you might have like a subheading, like I don't know, let's call it payroll, for example. I know that's your subheading, and then you'll say, processing, RP5s, IT3s. You list all the stuff that you do under that. That's another option to do it. The interesting thing is, if oftentimes people just need to see something. It can be a bullet point, that's fine. I just need to know that that's what you do, and if that's what you do, they're in. Okay. So that's what you're going to do there. It's just a little bit more space to do it, and then this is the how it works. But so just sort of go through everything. So Mel, you would definitely do this. You would sort of sit down, and Chantal, you'd probably do a little bit of this as well, to be honest. So I think, Chantal, you could get away with both. You're one of the few that could get away with both, because the quote unquote list of services, the actual stuff that you do is like, I'll sell it for you. Probably help you buy it as well if that's what you want to do, and we'll rent it out for you and we'll manage it. Okay, so you don't need to go to town on that. There might be certain things that you need to do, because I don't know your entire process. Like if you give them tax certificates at the end of the year or what, like that, you could list all of that. Otherwise, this is where you can start to talk about your experience and kind of the process that you go through. Yeah, we'll meet with you, we'll take you in, we'll take over the keys, we meet every month, we have coffee, or whatever it is. Doesn't matter. You just let them know the process. So write down your process, and in the process, literally, you can say anything. So give them an indication of what it's going to be like to work with you. That's mostly what you're doing. But as we touched on, if there's certain objections or things you want to get out of the way, you can use this section for that as well. This is exactly as I read it to you before. And then the call to action is like, just book a call, speak to me, right? Expected outcomes, if you've got any, you can look at that. If you've got any case studies, testimonials, you can do that. Here's the rich media data. Okay, so the rich media data says that you can add any of these things here. Now, being Microsoft, anything that's Microsoft related can add. So you can add a PDF, anything Microsoft, PowerPoint, Word, Docs, etc. When it comes to images, they must be JPEGs or PNGs. Okay. I don't know why they even bothered to give me this, because you'll never exceed that typically. But when you sort of look at this, if I take you back to the profile here, if I click on one of these, okay, what you'll see is that this is just a banner I created, and I don't remember the size offhand, but I just created it on Canva. right?
Mm.
And you can see that's what it looks like that's real size, but that's how it shows up on LinkedIn, right? So I don't put lots of stuff on here because you ain't going to see it. What this does do though is it's quite visual. So you can see there's company profile, there's testimonials. So if you click on this and you now click on view, now it's going to take you to where the testimonials are. Okay, so I happen to put these ones on LinkedIn. So what you can see is by creating this image, you can link it anyway. So in this case, I linked it to LinkedIn, right? The other one will be a download. So this one will take you to a place to download it, right? This just happens to be where I house it on my website, and you download the thing. So this is very versatile. Any where you want to take it, you can. So it's just a case of creating the banner, and then when you're actually updating your profile, there is a place somewhere to add this. Right. So down at the bottom, this is where you get to add your rich media. So you'll just add in a new image. When you add it, it'll ask you where you want to link it. You link it, and boom, you go. Simple as that. Yeah. So if you know the types of things is kind of what I've done. You'll see this is quite usual where you've got testimonials or you've got a company profile. Sometimes people will list different testimonials, and you'll have testimonial. I think it'll show up to 5 on a desktop. Show up to 5 of these little thumbnails. The other thing that's kind of interesting, and it's very similar to what we did before. This idea of having these subheads. The way I like to think about the about section is I like to think of it like a classified ad. So remember when in the old days when we used to do classified ads, you'd pay per word, right? So you don't want words in there that you don't need. So we try to be very frugal. So you've got the headline, and then whatever the text is. So think of this in the same way, because people are scrolling and they're looking at it. So this will give them the key pieces, the subheads, and then here's the text. It's quite similar in a way to what we did in the about section, but perhaps more important in many ways here in the experience section. And so Mel, what you would potentially do is you'd have one where you talk about sleep therapy. So like I've done, let me just go back here and show you. So that would be about sleep therapy, and then you would have another one for the oils and another one for the consulting or the whatever it is that you do. So you could have as many of these as you need, and you get 2,000 characters for each one. But each one can then be very dedicated to that particular thing, which is great. So all right. So I should probably give you guys let's upload this. Yeah, let's do that, shall we? Where are we? Into chat.
But I think even applying what you learned in terms of that, the first part, in terms of being able to be so succinct and go, if I can give you could use that in your 60-second slot in BNI. So I've found it quite invaluable in terms of what you've shared with us, so that I can translate it even into the BNI space. So I've really appreciated it.
Cool. All right, there you go. Giving you that. Do you guys have any other questions? If not, I'll show you what we did on ChatGPT.
I'm good. Have you put it on, James?
Yeah, have I?
It doesn't come.
One has to actually click the send button.
Generally, James.
Late in the day. It's late in the day.
Yeah.
There
we go. I'm blaming it on the COVID. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Oh dear.
Thank you so much, James.
All right, cool. So let me show you this thing quickly. It's just fascinating.
Okay, James, I'm switching. I'm going off my computer now and I'm going onto my cell phone So you're going to just lose my face. But I'm on my cell phone because I'm locking up and I'm moving off somewhere. But I don't want to miss this because I'm really super keen to hear what you're doing. Okay.
Okay. You might want to stick around for 2 minutes because you probably
Okay.
want to see this more than
Yeah.
hear it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Hang on a second. I won't be long. I'll just want to show you what's up here. Okay. So I have created a little robot called professional niche identifier.
Sure.
And then just give you a little description here, and then you say, yeah, I'm ready. So you click on the button, right? Then this takes a moment to spring into action, and it's going to lead you the whole way, you know, in terms of what it's doing. So it says, let's get started. I'm going to ask you a series of questions that'll help, blah, blah, blah. Let's begin with the first question. What is your job description, right? So I don't know. Let's try. Oh, what I want to show you here, if you don't know this, this is also uber cool. There's a little Chrome plugin. It's a Chrome extension called Voice Control for ChatGPT. Okay? Write this down. Voice Control for ChatGPT. So you've got your little plugin. If you connect that when you're on chat, then you'll see this microphone turns blue and you can speak. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just watch what I do. Sleep therapist. And I send, right? So you don't have to type stuff. You just talk to the thing, right? Then it asks you the next question, in which year you're born, and then there's a little bit of supporting text to kind of let you go. This helps us understand professional timeline, etc. 1967. I send. So the first 2 questions are just to get a bit of a grounding. Then the third question gets a little bit more exciting, right? Now, what's interesting here is it says, thanks, now we're building a clear picture. So now it asks the question, what specific products and services do you offer as a sleep therapist? So now you can see this has actually tailored it. If I show you mine, my third question is, I'll give them a big answer, right? What specific products do you offer? Then I tell them, then from there it gets into analyzing everything. But it speaks to me because it knows LinkedIn here, we're doing sleep service. Now, I don't know enough to continue this process, so so I won't. I just wanted to show you, right, that that will adapt. So each of you will do the same thing. So the third question is exactly that. What specific products do you offer? Now you can see here, for me, it was profile optimization, outreach, etc. Of course, it's talking my language. Then I give it blah, 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 and then it throws it back at me. All right, succinctly. Okay, got it. Your service is a comprehensive LinkedIn coaching program focused on profile optimization, positioning, and outbound generation. And it lists all the stuff. And it gets the next question: which offerings are the most profitable? Okay, and this will go through, and I won't bore you with the rest of this, but it will go through 26 questions at the moment. I need to add a couple more. Then it gets to the end, and it says, now I have the information needed to proceed. Shall I move to the first step, which is analyze? So I say yes, and off it goes. Now it gives me information, demographics, psychographics, beliefs, interests, behaviors, goals, pains, information sources, brand preferences, and sales navigator filter. So this is the LinkedIn piece. Then it says, okay, this is cool. Should I move to step 2? Yes. Go to step 2, and it goes to step 2, and then it refines it, right? Now what it's doing is it's taken all that stuff in relation to everything that it's given me, and now it's trying to get to something specific. So it says, well, look, here's your refined niches. Why financial professionals? Why? Because of this. There's some key changes or opportunity. Let's talk about accountants. Why them? Key challenges, opportunities, attorneys, blah, 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 and then other people, blah, blah, blah. Tells me some validation against goals, some other information, and then it says, should I get to the final step, which is, you know, give me the answer, yes, and here it goes. So here's my niche. All right. Financial professionals and knowledge-based providers targeting financial advisors, fractional CFOs, accountants, and attorneys. Now, I didn't prompt it with that per se. I just answered the questions as they related to me, and this is what it came up with. The funny thing is, I've been toying with this idea specifically for about 2 years, and have been humming and hawing. I'll put it into the GPT, asking the questions. It comes back, says, yeah, that's what you should do. Okay. Maybe I will.
Wow.
And then it's going, now it gives me, because this is the niche, now it gives me specifically for the niche. There's all the demographics, the psychographics, etc., etc. So this is like unbelievably valuable, and it adapts for each individual person. That's crazy.
I love that. I love that.
So I am going to give you
winner.
let's copy this link into the chat. So you obviously will all need you don't need a paid account to use it. It's in the chat. You need a paid account to create one, but you don't need a paid account to use it. You can just, if you have an OpenAI account, you can. Otherwise, it'll just ask you to create one. If it asks you, just use your Gmail, sign in with Google. It's the easiest thing in the world, and then you're done.
Okay.
And then you can test it. Be
I
interesting to see
love that.
what answers you come up with. I need to make a few little tweaks and adjustments to it. I've realized as I'm testing it with different people, but it's pretty good. That's probably about 90% there already out the box. It's just,
Wow, thanks, James.
this is kind of cool.
It's going to be fun.
Oh,
Love it.
It is, yeah. So what I will do is I will take all of that stuff, all the stuff that we've done, and I will create these little GPTs for each step. So you don't have to go think hard. It's just like answer the questions, and then it'll all hopefully all get done. And if I really get this right, as I say, I get it all the way right down to having a profile finished.
That's incredible, though, and I think well done on all your work.
Thanks. You've got no idea about incredible. This is the tip of the iceberg. Some of the stuff this can do is like scary.
We on the joyride with you.
So
Yeah,
yeah, and you know, it's like I was trying to explain to my children the other day how important this stuff is, and I don't think I'm being melodramatic if I say that this AI thing, if not the top, it's certainly in the top 3 most significant events in our lifetime. And a simple example I gave them, I said, you know, you grew up in the world of email, right? And you press a button and it goes, you know what I used to do? I used to go to the shop and buy paper and write with a pen, a ballpoint pen, a message. Then I would lick it and stick it in with a stamp, and I would go to the big red post box somewhere, and I would put the letter in, and then someone would take it out and take it and sort it, and then I'd give it to another postman who would get on his little bicycle and go and put it in somebody's post box, and maybe they would get the letter 2 weeks later if it didn't end in the felt. I'd be lucky. Right? You press a button, so you don't know. And then the other day, the electricity's off, so my son is whinging. He says, listen, my day was so terrible. I had no Wi-Fi. Couldn't do anything. I was bored. I said, got news for you, China. When I was your age, I didn't have Wi-Fi either. Not because it wasn't broken, it was just not connected. I said, that's how it was. So I said, you see, like if you don't have the internet, like your life ends, right? I said, well, I said, this AI thing is going to have the same effect as like the internet did. And I fully believe that. It's just
can I say something,
scary.
James? I got this from one friend of mine.
Yeah.
And we were just talking and she did something. She's like, oh, I love ChatGPT and I love AI. And she sent me something. She's like, AI is not taking over the world. The people who know how to use it are taking over the world. Yeah. And I just absolutely love that, because everyone's so scared about AI and ChatGPT and all of that. But I mean, if you can just use it to your advantage, there's nothing wrong with it.
I think that's what you have to do at the moment. I'm in a fortunate position that the people I deal with are smart people generally. They don't have time for this, so they don't know. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I get my head around it, there's a massive opportunity, and that, I mean, it's for all of us. But you know, even something as simple as and where all this started was I wanted to build a ChatGPT system for content, because I don't post content and I need to start. I'm about 80% of the way there with that, and this is where the whole thing started. And so I'll build GPTs to do it, and then I have them, and then people will probably ask me to help them with the GPTs, or rent my GPTs, or sell it to them. And there's a lot of money to be made there. And you're right, it's the people that know how to use it, because it's still a tool. You still have you have
Yes.
you have the knowledge to build it. You can't just like say stuff and then the GPT appears. I guess it's not how it
True,
works.
true.
So not everybody can build it, and if you don't have the application or the time or the energy or the will or the whatever to learn it, well, then you have to pay for it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Any
that's how the
tool
world
is
works.
like
It's not,
that, I guess.
yeah, exactly.
Hold
But
on a second.
it's scary, man.
I have a question.
Hmm.
Because as everybody already knows, I'm not very good with technology. So I know Chat GPT now. What are you guys talking about AI?
So
not
so
like
so so ChatGPT, think of it as part of AI, right?
artificial
for,
intelligence, hey?
yeah,
Yeah.
for the sake of what of where your head's at the moment, it's kind of the same thing, pretty much. AI, I mean, it gets used everywhere else, but we're pretty much talking about ChatGPT and the ability that it has. So for any of us that work online, right? If you do anything online, if you have a process, you can automate it. Like eventually, I want to get my entire process automated from start to finish, and I will. It's just a matter of time. Sometimes it's not worth the effort to put in to do it all. Sometimes you just want to automate pieces of it. But I take my business for example. I can now, when I get all of this done, I can record a video, so I don't need to do the sessions with you like I've done now. And my coaching clients is even worse. It's like one-on-one. I do this, right? So I do the session, I give them the stuff, they go away. Now it's like watch the video, and then when you finish the video, here's the link. Go do the homework, click this GPT, answer the questions. Like no more download PDFs, none of that shit. It's just do it, and then boom, here's the answer. Then the coaching actually starts when you've done that. So next week you come to me and say, here's the answer to the homework that the GPT gave me. Then we start to coach.
Okay,
I've taken away such a big piece of the time investment that I have to put in, and the solace that you guys have got to sit and to blow your minds and what have you, because now the GPT leads you through it. So the video, or like in this case, I coached you, but then you went and you got busy, and then it's like a week later, just before the next session, it's like, shit, I better do this quickly. And what did he say? No, now it's there. The GPT will lead you through the process. It's a quick revision. Oh yeah, yes, okay, done. So every business is going to be different, in terms of how we utilize this.
Just quickly, Chantel, for you to make it simple as well. If you're ever scrolling on Facebook, sometimes I find that even if I'm on the internet, I'm looking for something, invariably I will find Facebook is suggesting it to me somehow or the other. That's all, simply put, AI. So that's kind of like looking at, so like even when in how I do my books and stuff, the softwares that we use also are using AI. So it's kind of like learning what you
with the algorithms, correct?
Yes.
Okay, no,
I
I
learning
was a
what
little
you like,
bit
what you don't like, and then suggesting this and that, and that's all AI. That's all AI. It's quite broad.
Because I thought now you meant AI is also another thing like ChatGPT. You can go on Google and Google it, and it can help you. But obviously, it means everything that's
it's
happening
just a
around.
massive, broad.
Yeah. Okay.
concept, but it's been lots of other applications coming out of it. So, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's an interesting space, so that's for sure.
It's so amazing that we
now.
the change is happening.
Yeah,
Since now we've seen so many changes. We are such a lucky generation.
I don't know, it depends who you ask.
Yeah. I love your optimism, Chantel.
Yeah, it depends who you ask.
Oh dear.
All good.
Anyway, I've got to get going. James, thank you so much for
You
meeting
guys are welcome.
giving us your time.
Good stuff.
Nice to meet you, Chantel and Melanie.
All right, we'll see you all same time, same place next week. All right.
See you next week, and happy discovering and doing your section. Take care,
All right,
everybody.
thanks. Okay, cheers.
Bye.
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 Bye.